Hello and welcome to Developing Developers. This is Abhishek and I'm here with few tips on how to write clean code. Clean code is self-documented, human readable, maintainable and scalable code. So instead of naming them as X, Y and Z, you can name them what they're doing. So for this example, we don't know what is X, Y or Z, but if I write amount, rate, and time period, we know that this is a formula for calculating simple interest. Next is this bool stores whether the number is even or not. So instead of naming as a bool, we can name it as is even. Next is avoid unnecessary comparisons. As we know, as is even is already a boolean value, we don't have to compare it whether it is true or false because it is already a boolean value. So simply you can write if is even. It is really common to change the methods when you're initializing object using a builder or when you're dealing with streams. So instead of typing the methods in a single line, you can write them in different line to make them more clear, like this. You can apply the same concept when you're initializing objects using a constructor. Next is avoid unnecessary nesting of blocks. In this example, we are taking a list of integers as input parameter, then it is checking whether the list is not null and not empty, then it is executing few lines of code and then printing the list. In this example, we are not having any else block. We can merge these two conditions using AND. We can even reduce the nesting by reversing this entire condition. So instead of not null, we can check for null. Then instead of AND, check for OR, and then check for if the list is empty. If that is true, then return, and that's it. What this means is if any of these two conditions is true, then we will return. So if the list is null or empty, no line of code beyond this line will be executed. The flow will be returned back to the calling function. This example is similar to the previous one, but in this we are throwing an exception in the else block. We can do the same thing that we did in the previous one, that is reverse the entire condition. If the conditions are met, throw the exception and then remove the else block. And that's it. In this way, we can remove the unnecessary nesting of blocks. In the next example, we are taking a name as input, checking whether the name is valid or not, and then we are returning true or false. The first condition, name is not true, returns a boolean value, and the second as well returns a boolean value. We can write the same thing in a single line of code like this. And that's it. Last is always group your variables to improve the readability. So since we have two repositories, we can group them together. Then the services. Thank you for watching the video and don't forget to like and subscribe. Goodbye and happy coding.